All right, we are back. Thanks for hanging out with us tonight on this lovely Thursday. Um, we are the MTG Paper Legacy Discord. My name is Beyond Sadistic, and this is Ann Harrison with me, hanging out.
Hi.
She's 2 a.m. I think we're eclipsing right now, right?
What 158?
I was close. I was close. So tonight, or this matchup, I should say, we've got an interesting set of decks. High Tide.
And I have to confess, I've never seen High Tide played. It's what, about 2014 when Feline Longmore was kind of winning stuff with High Tide, and it's kind of been downhill since then.
I wouldn't say.
Um, mm, I don't know. I mean, I knew a dude who owned the deck because it was like he owned a budget version of the deck, and it was kind of before he bought some big legacy cards. But I literally have never seen it played, and I've been studying it, and I'll do my best.
Well, you're gonna see it because this is gonna be. I think this is gonna be pretty exciting, honestly. So they're gonna shuffle up. We'll get to see who goes first this time. Chaotic Bear, a moderator at the MTG Paper Legacy Discord, playing against Martyr1207 on Merfolk.
And also Monet Blue Merfolk, because we've
Yeah.
seen Simic Merfolk popping up in a few places with the cards from Ixalan and Rivals of Ixalan, but no, this is Monet Blue. So this is, did you know that there was Monet Blue decks in Legacy these days? Here's two of them.
Yeah, and that's the best part. Both being mono blue, both get to play against each other. So this should be pretty interesting, to say
Was
the
the
least.
odds or evens or high roll?
That's a good
I like
question.
it when people have the Las Vegas square dice.
Right.
It's ever so useful. I rummaged around my house and I managed to find two, but
Nice.
that's all.
I I am quite. I have 6 million
Ooh.
just
I
because.
feel like I need the ruler to compare, but no, mine are clearly not 26 millimeters.
No, they're the only reason why is because when you play on webcam games, way easier
Okay,
to
look,
see.
you're upping the standards. You know what I'm going to be eBaying after we're done on this stream. It
They're
will be 26 millimeter dice.
they're super cool. I like them. I think SCG runs something similar, so that way you can see on the top down view just exactly how.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's the same when you get GP coverage.
Yeah. So Chaotic's gonna be on the play here. Looks like I don't think they drew a hand yet. Oh no, they're both mulled to 6.
Yeah, the one time I was actually at an SCG Open and I was bored for a bit, so I went and hung out with the tech guys on the stream because they don't hide them as much as they do at the GPs, and so they explained all the streaming stuff to me. It was really cool.
Right. Uh, Dill 33 chat asked, "What is the meta legacy decks at the moment?" Well, the interesting part about that,
Not High Tide and Merfolk.
not High Tide and Merfolk. But we are in a pretty interesting situation with over 1,000 players on our Discord. We are our own meta. We run weekly challenges on Saturdays, and I think the majority of them are all different decks, from
Yeah,
goblins to
we've had
Snowco to
16 players, 16 decks.
yeah,
I
Reanimator.
would say that there's probably less combo decks here than what would seem to be average, but how can you tell what's average when there has not been a big legacy tournament
Yeah,
in months?
yeah. Then that's just it. We Lotus Box had a legacy event. I think that's other than, and then the weekly challenges. Really it. But we have
Yeah.
goblins,
There's obviously
Urza.
the MTG leagues, and I'm seeing fairly similar decks to what we're seeing here. It is quite a lot of mid-range decks.
Yeah, the there's there are a lot of mid range decks. I will say that. But in the combo deck, there are fewer combo
There are a
decks.
few combo decks. I think it's more mid-range, some aggro, some control, and combo being probably the least frequent, and graveyard combo being even less frequent.
Yeah, we do have a couple dredge, a couple tests, a couple
Yeah.
storm.
I tend to not think of Ants and Tears as graveyard decks, even though actually they often do use the graveyard.
True, but we do.
Anyway, we've got Chaotic Bear mulling down to 4. And I just don't know whether that's a thing for High Tide, whether that's something that works or not. You know, they're trying to counter, draw, you know, essentially build up Storm, even though they don't have any cards with Storm. It's more about untapping and retapping mana. So he's got to get his mana up, but you know, he doesn't necessarily need a lot of land early on because he's also got 4 Preordain, 4 Ponder, 4 Brainstorm. So, you know, is
Plenty
it a
to
deck
draw.
that can go off an island and a Brainstorm?
Yeah. I really think it can. It doesn't really need a whole lot to really rock and roll. It looks like he's going to keep this.
Yeah, so he's keeping 4. I mean, Merfolk is possibly I just honestly can't predict this matchup because I just don't know how well each plays. I mean, I'm familiar with Merfolk, I'm much more familiar from Vintage. It's never been especially huge in Legacy. And this obviously I think is benefiting from new cards because it's a 4th Ashes Oracle. It's hoping to get the Blue Devotion and
combo.
win there.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
And I will. There's a Ponder and there's a Brainstorm in response. Let's do it. Let's draw.
No, it was the Silver Girl Adept.
Or a Curse Catcher. A Curse Catcher, actually. Looks just like Ponder.
New art for Curse Catcher. I didn't know that Curse Catcher had been reprinted in Magic 25. So I totally did not recognise that. I thought it looked a bit like the regular Silver Girl Adept.
Yeah. Good Brainstorm in response. I'll give him that. I thought for sure that was Ponder. It looked just like it. The glare's a little bit, but it's not too bad. And Omnitel is a fantastic deck. Once you get it together, definitely. And
yeah,
I'm glad you're a part of the Discord.
I've seen Show and Tell or Sneak and Tell on this channel. I don't think. No, maybe there was one Sneak deck last week.
There was one last week. Yep.
They seem to be hidden. And I certainly haven't seen Tin Fins. The Tin Fin players, they're over on their own Discord somewhere. None of us have found it.
I love Tin. Many times have I thought of turning my mono black reanimate deck into Tin Fins.
Yeah, I'm just collecting the Grizzlebrands, but no, really, I'm never a combo player. I'm never playing Tin Fins.
Yeah, well, Tin Fins is. Yeah, once you get the deck finished,
like
by all means.
It's got a difficult what's the way we do?
And also,
it is one of the trickier decks to play, I feel.
Yeah, it is. It's got a really interesting combo. That's for sure.
Yeah.
And just like.
So that's this. Hang on, that's not Silver Guard deck. Let's not make this mistake. That is the new card in the deck, Merfolk Tricks. It's not that new, but newer card.
Yep. Merfolk Trickster.
Taps a creatures down and then they lose abilities to the end of turn.
Correct.
So it doesn't actually do much. I think he's just flashing it in as a 2/2 here.
A sack draw card.
So I'm guessing from the cards that we've, seeing the new version of Curse Catcher, that this is probably a newer player, which is, or at least new to Merfolk, perhaps.
I wouldn't think so. This looks actually.
I mean,
looks pretty. I've seen quite a few Merfolk decks through the years.
Okay, I'm coming from the perspective of not having known Curse Catcher was reprinted, and that was reprinted 2018.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And Curse Catcher was there's a Mutavault, an Aether Vial. So
yeah, you get Aether Vial going and Mutavault, and you're pumping here.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Katie Bear was definitely very much on the back foot with starting on 4, but still have a suspicion that
they've got their lands.
The aggro deck has the preference.
They've definitely done a good job of finding what they need.
Yeah.
Another Mutavault.
Which makes it difficult for him to cast something like a True Name Nemesis. Because, he's not got that second blue.
Mm-hmm. Or a Lord.
Of course, yes. Very important card.
Because he's Lord of Atlantis gives Island Walk. Granted, this deck is really going to be more self-focused.
How did he catch the Merfolk Trickster, which is a blue, if he doesn't have 2 blue sources?
Yeah, the Waterlogged Grove.
That he chose to sack.
Mm-hmm.
Aha.
There's a
I was
ponder.
not expecting that. Definitely feel the right choice of ponder art there.
Looks like Brian from 90s MTG is here. I agree. Teferi's Realm, hit the board. Let's go. Looks like he's just going to shuffle. He's not going to draw off
Yeah.
ponder. Didn't find
Well, you
he
still get a
wanted.
draw. You just don't get your
Well,
choice, and that
correct.
can be the better choice. Knowing when to ponder is shuffle off a ponder is really the way forwards.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah, I think wishing into Teferi's realm is potential play here, but
Yeah.
he presumably doesn't have the wish.
Well, his vial's going to tick to 2. It's going to be a good sweet spot.
Oh that really is the sweet spot for this deck. Actually, I think this build of it gets you lords, gets you your Thassa's Oracle. Not that his blue devotion's big enough just yet.
Waterlog Grove. Marty's going to lose about
Take a
18.
pain.
Yeah. I think it might be worth it here, though.
Oh, ouch. Gosh, yes, that's a lot of stuff to hit 4 down to 3. Or 4. 4? Yeah. And of course, there's a curse catcher still sat there ready to sacrifice in response to certain spells.
Mm-hmm.
Although I'd imagine that Chaotic Bear is always going to have enough mana to deal with a curse catcher.
Yeah. At this point, though,
But,
he really needs an answer.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, he's going for something.
High Tide.
Well, he's only tapped 1 island, so unless...
Yeah, High Tide only costs 1
Yeah,
blue.
it is High Tide, yeah. Which is exactly probably what he needs right now, because he needs more draw spells or the wish into the Teferi's Realm. I mean, it's interesting that in this deck, the island doubling effect is potentially relevant. I mean, he's tapped out now, so it's not, but...
True. It does give his opponent the ability, the opportunity. So he's going to double fetch and put himself at 2. So
well, I guess he needs more islands.
Yeah, at this point he's got to have it. I agree. World enchantments. I really want an Abyss Witch House deck. That or another Void. A little harder to play around, but
what was the reason for them calling them world enchantments? Because don't all enchantments on all enchantments world enchantments?
no, world
Depending
enchantments
on exactly how they're worded.
But if I remember right, once a world enchantment's there, you cannot play another.
Yeah.
So
right. Now I didn't know that. I don't think I've seen that reminder text on the small number of world enchantments that I've come across.
And I'm just granted it's been a long
right.
time.
Well, we've got Time Spiral, so that's gonna have everything shuffle in and then some lands on tap. High Tide is still active.
So they do have the old the legend rule, world enchantment. So it's not the original one. It's not the original rule. You can't play it.
Yeah, yeah.
Just that curse catcher.
But I mean, he can pay. I'm not sure this is the time. I don't know. Is this the time?
Well, Time Spiral did resolve. Was able to.
And but the thing is that Chaotic's been able to tap all his lands. And he'll get to untap all 6 of his lands. So he's gonna have so much mana.
Mm-hmm.
So much mana.
He's only got 1 life, but I don't really think outside of he's not gonna have to worry about. Well, he can't. He would have to tap out for a force.
He can make enough mana without fetching. He's
right.
not on another turn. He's already. Has he dropped a land this turn? Not sure he has dropped a land this turn, but he's. Chances are he's going to have found a basic in amongst them.
But he may have given his opponent Force of Wills. So if he cannot
dodgy that.
Yeah.
But he's got Flusterstorms, so he's got his own Force of Wills. It's what he loses, he gains as well.
Mm-hmm. Gonna
It was
ponder.
certainly his only out. I certainly got to try it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so there's a ponder. Intuition? No,
Yeah.
that's not intuition, is it? It's impulse.
I'm just wondering why part of it's black.
Yeah, me too. Maybe there was an oracle text change.
That could be.
Because I'm actually looking at a picture of a different art impulse, which is not helping.
Yeah, it is impulse. It looks like it's got cross. Put one of them into your hand and the rest on the bottom of your library. For your library afterwards.
In which case, what does it matter where you put them?
True. Yeah, that's what I thought too. I thought it was a signature at first, but
Yeah, no, it definitely looks like a bit blacked out. I'm pretty confident it's that, unless somebody's got a really weird blackout. Okay, so that's what
Storm 8.
Storm.
Yep. I asked our table spotter to ask why it was blacked out, just to see.
Yeah, I'd be certainly very interested to know.
Mm-hmm. Gonna cunning wish.
Does he cunning wish for Teferi's realm here or something else?
Well, Fairy's Realm is an enchant. Cunning wish gets an instant.
Oh, is that the one thing he can't wish for on his board?
Yeah.
This is post-board tech.
But he can get turnabout, which does tap or untap all artifacts, creatures, or land. Gives him more.
Which is instant.
There's another
Or he could get the
impulse.
Blue Sun Zenith to draw some cards himself.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully start looping things. He had 0 mana floating before the turnabout.
Oh, he says
So
it says shuffle the library misprint.
Aha.
0 mana floating before turnabout.
So yeah, he's had to use the turnabout to untap his own lands.
Correct. Yeah. Like a dramatic. Oh, he's tapping out. Time spiral.
Yep. I mean, he's just got to go for it.
Well, he's at 1
It
life.
feels a little more tenuous than some Storm decks where you're kind of like, okay, you know when they get going, they're going to hit ad nauseum. You just don't know if ad nauseum will hit.
Right.
This one feels a little bit more, I'm not sure what's going to happen.
He's going to violin.
Is that the Merfolk Trickster?
No.
Oh, it's a Silvergill Adept. No. Is it?
No, it's not a Silvergill
I'm
Adept.
getting very confused.
It looks like Old Man of the Sea almost. But I know it's not Old Man of the Sea.
It's Master of the Pearl Trident.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
So, yeah, you might as well get that into play rather. He found it off the last 7,
Sure.
and
rather than gamble.
You don't want to lose it. And I mean, it's not that High Tide doesn't play creatures, so giving your creatures Island Walk isn't really going to do much.
No.
But it's a body.
Right. So he's going to draw another 7, 2 blue floating, untap all of his land. Use 1 and ponder.
I've just realised why Chaotic Bear's thing is confusing me. His camera's mirrored. Half the cards are confusing me.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Because they're mirrored.
There's another High Tide.
That's why like a high tide that I've seen a picture of.
So now his island's tapped for quite a bit more.
Is
3.
it double or an extra?
It's I think it's worded as an X. So each island will tap for
Yeah, so they're going to tap for 3, and that's why he's put the 3 dice on the one island, just as the reminder.
Gonna play a merchant scroll.
Yeah, Merchant Scroll hardly ever sees play in Legacy, but you know it's pretty reasonable card. 2 mana to find an instant or sorcery.
Yeah.
Especially useful in mono blue decks. So what's he going to find?
That cunning wish.
I'm just laughing at what Doc's saying is a table spotter.
He's gonna cast another cunning wish.
Yeah, that seems like I mean I kind of feel like a Zenith's coming up, but I just feel like Zenith is going to be a little bit smaller than he would want to Zenith himself at the moment.
Right. Brain freeze.
Having consulted other people, I've learned that you want to Zenith yourself for maybe about 10 to hopefully find the stuff to go off to Zenith the opponent for 50.
Yeah. Brain freeze takes him, mills out Martyr, so they're gonna go to their sideboards. So Anne, having never seen High Tide, what do you think what do you think Martyr brings in here?
Well, let's have a look see.
Now you've seen everything that High Tide
Chalice
does.
of the and I think yeah, he wants to land a Chalice of the Void on 1.
Absolutely.
And 1 on every other number as well.
Yeah, 1 and 2.
I mean, fundamentally the 1.
Yeah. Although he doesn't
do anything with the graveyard, so the graveyard hate's useless. Harbinger of Tides. Yeah, no, that doesn't do anything. He has a second Merfolk Trickster. I mean, Merfolk Tricksters are probably going out. Force of Negations maybe also coming in.
I'd agree.
And Chaotic has a partial wish board, but with a few things that he can bring in. So, there's an Arset Power Travails. Just that's kind of like an, repeatable intuition. No,
Yeah.
repeatable impulse. I get those cards mixed up.
But I don't think it really does. The ability to shut off card draw is really
no.
And I don't think he really cares.
I'm not sure it's strong against this deck. He's not going to be removing creatures, so he doesn't want the surgicals early. I think it's the Teferi's Realm. Maybe he brings in.
Yeah, I would say so. I would agree with that. Pretty much everything else he can cunning wish for, except for the relic, which really doesn't do anything.
Yeah, relic and Nasa are just not relevant. I don't think matchup and everything else is a wish for, and it's not the matchup where you need your surgical early if you ever want to wish for it.
Urkel's Recall would actually be somewhat relevant as a wish target, just to bounce the vibe.
Potentially. I'm not.
But that's corner
I'm not
case.
Sure. I think the Chalice is really the key to the Merfolk player's plan here.
Absolutely. That would, if I were in this situation, that would be.
But I think the Force of Negations are just extra counter spells.
Right. Because if they can shut off the Cunning Wish, then just like Hackalite mentioned in the chat, there is no main deck win.
Well, yeah, but Cunning Wish means putting a Chalice on 4. Costing 8. That's just not going to happen in time. And I think you put the Chalice on 1 to avoid them ever being in a position where they can afford to cast Cunning Wish and do anything with it usefully.
Yeah, but
and
Cunning Wish is 3.
Bringing in all 4 chalices, I'm never hoping to cast one on.
Yeah, Cunning Wish is 3.
Ah, Cunning Wish is 3, not 4. Anyway,
So that's
I'm
turn
bringing in 4
6 instead
chalices
of.
to find to make me find them, and I'm putting them on 1.
Right. Looks like
I'm
Cavern.
not trying to put chalices on higher numbers. They shut off my own deck too much if I'm playing Merfolk.
Well, he's already got his vial down at this point. So
Yeah, Cavern of Souls, presumably naming Merfolk rather than fairies or something fun. Sometimes if I have two Cavern of Souls in hand, I will, name like the subtype like Rogue or something, one creatures just for fun.
name giants while you're playing your Merfolk deck.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That'll keep him off.
And the one thing that the 4 chalice and the void of the void in the sideboard make it feel like this sort of turns into a stompy deck post board.
A little.
But without the ability to turn 1 your chalice, it's not it's not taxing things, it's not turning things off immensely.
Right. Looks like Martyr Silvergill Adepts reveals Lord of Atlantis so he can draw a card.
Yep. Always useful.
Mm-hmm.
That's double Cavern of Souls. I'd be so tempted to have named something else. Just to confuse your opponent.
Worm.
And I mean, it's not like he's playing Wasteland, so he can waste the Merfolk one and keep the Worm one.
Right.
Another Ponder.
Yep.
Okay, Ponder's not the draw spell you most want to keep, but
Phasing does retain counter.
Phasing retains all the properties of the cards. They just vanish for a turn cycle.
It's just like they weren't there. They don't re-enter the battlefield. They don't leave the battlefield. They're just cease to exist.
Not there.
It's interesting.
I feel like there's some kind of like science example of what phasing is, but I can't bring it to mind right now.
I don't think so. Wait, freezing water.
Feels like
freezing water, melting it, and then refreezing it.
I know that's a phase change, but I just feel like there's something in quantum mechanics or something like that.
Oh, I'm sure.
And if there isn't, there should be. Right, where's the Curse Catcher?
Yep. Preordain.
Counter the Preordain.
Filed the 2.
Well, in this early game, it's definitely been slower for the Merfolk player. I feel like he draws cards quite aggressively, but it didn't work from last game, but I'm not sure that it would have done. Well, that's interesting. Just thinking last turn, if he'd have had a second blue source earlier, did he have a Lord in hand? We never knew if he had a Lord in hand, did we?
Time Spiral took that. Time Spiral takes a lot.
But it also brings a lot of things to us.
True. Especially.
So we are just going on a massive find cards. It's been Ponder, Preordain, which got counted, Brainstorm. I mean, I assume that Martyr's sideboarded in Chalice. I could be wrong. Well, no, I think it's the right thing to do. He may not have done it, I think, is possibly the question.
And here's the interesting thing. He may not have a whole lot of experience.
Or High Tide in particular, because who has?
But High Tide also plays very much like a Storm. Find your cards, then you cantrip, double your mana, discard your hand, draw cards. Yeah. There's some essentially, but the interesting thing is, as a Merfolk player or a Death and Taxes player, you draw a strong 7 but don't have your 8 piece. Do you keep it? Do you just go, I can be faster than
he had a fast start last turn and he didn't win against a mulligan to 4. You find your hate piece.
True, but
I don't know if that's true for Death and Taxes, but I think it's true for what we saw that this Merfolk deck do. Maybe if he found a Lord, it plays out differently. But
true.
I think going off double blue when you didn't have the Ether Vial ready to Dark Vial in a Lord was maybe a bit dodgy, because if his next draw is a Lord, you're in trouble.
Yeah,
Or
absolutely.
you've wasted the draw. So I feel like we saw Merfolk go off on one of its faster versions.
And I've seen Merfolk be pretty darn explosive.
Exactly. I mean, he had double Mutavault last game as well, which he also has. No, he doesn't have now. I'm getting Cavern of Souls and Mutavaults blended in.
There's a High Tide.
Yep. And that's the winter version of the High Tide.
Little bitch.
So it's Storm 1. Lands tap for 2. So we've got 2 mana. Well, he's going to spend one of them straight off, I believe.
For a High Tide.
With High Tide, they tap for 3.
Well, Martyr's got his Vial up and mana. Oh.
File and Mana is definitely more threatening than he was at this point in the last game.
Actually, he does not have any colored sword.
Yeah, but Force of Will is kind of what we're expecting as the counterspell, so
True.
it doesn't need coloured sources unless it's a Merfolk.
No, but add anything else that
Yes, yeah.
he was unable
except
to.
for No, I think we only thought Force of Negation probably would bring in, which again is
That's an exile.
Yeah, so I don't think he needs blue mana.
That's true. That's one thing I love about Legacy. I love Force of Will. I love counter. I love getting beat out. Force of Will, Force of Negation, Force of Will, Daze, and then Flusterstorm.
Yeah, and there's the psych as well of going, well, I bet they've got at most one counterspell in their opening hand. Which of these 3 lock pieces should I play? Hoping that, you're going to get the third one or the second one to resolve, and then the joy when the first one resolves.
Right. And I didn't like got a pizza in chats. You mulled down too low for a hate piece. You're setting yourself up to get a counter and then being completely obviously.
Yeah, there's obviously an absolute balance to be found, but it's kind of like, it's a bit like the decision of whether you play Leyline of the Void as your graveyard hate, and you probably know from playing Death and Taxes, you can't play Leyline of the Void as your graveyard hate.
Correct. By the way,
you can't mulligan down to it. But
there's
if
a
you're playing
fourth High
mono
Tide.
green Tron in Modern, you can mulligan down to it because you can win off 3 cards.
Yeah, and you find way more. If you're selectively picking your.
So he's gone Intuition and done the choose 3 cards the same rather than 3 cards that all help me win. There's two ways to play Intuition.
Strangely, they look all like Time Spiral.
Well, I wonder why.
He also did cast another High
they
Tide.
All are. Yeah. I mean, Island's tapping for 4.
Pretty good. He's going to be able to float quite a bit of mana.
And I've not been counting cards in Martyr's hand, but I'd be surprised to see another counterspell here.
Got 8 mana plus the other 3. Going to put him at 11 mana.
Then he's going to Time Spiral.
He's going to turn about.
All his land. Oh, he's going to turn him out first. Well, if you've got that mana, why not?
Got on a mana.
Yeah, it's just like, yeah, land. I'll make 16 mana. Then I'll cast Time Spiral. Yeah, he's going to the D20s. Because it was 16 plus I think there was sort of 6 sat there. Yeah, no, 8 sat there. Yes, 24. They're all tapped, and it goes off to play. Oh, turnabout! Oh my Gideon, he's gonna need another D20. I'm just gonna make 16 mana. Oh no, I'll do that with dice.
And there's your Time Spiral.
Finally.
Wow.
I've only got 30 mana. This deck can make 50. What are you laughing at?
Just, I love that. Chaotic obviously has played High Tide. Many times.
that he's an experienced high tide player, and I'm glad
And
that he's bringing it out.
and exactly, just the fact that you have never seen it, and it's you get to see him play it, and it's this is a fantastic. Yeah, this
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it'd been interesting to see it against a deck that's perhaps a little bit more common in the current meta.
right.
Um,
And we are 1-1. The moderators are one. Very well made us bring us to the
2-1.
side. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it was Death and Taxes that went down to Nick's fit with those horrifying enchantments. Overwhelming Splendor.
Eureka is
Oh,
full of a magic card.
horrifying. Well, and he had Omniscience to go into as well if he didn't have Eureka in hand, if he had, Academy Rector in to fetch that, and if he had, Overwhelming Splendor in hand. Oh, there are all sorts of ways.
Oh, I agree.
Oh, that was a preordained miss.
The preordain, I'm pretty sure you want one.
Yeah, I think that's a perfect preordain, isn't it?
Gonna pond.
I mean, too good is not something I'd frown at.
No, true. But then you got to choose.
I know.
Choices.
If you've got another draw spell, like,
Then
how
just have them
about
all.
I pre-onder and ponder? Then it doesn't matter, does it?
Yeah, very true. We don't want those.
The number of times I've spent the second card I put back off a brainstorm I've done at the end of term about to draw it. It's embarrassing.
Done it. Although fortunately you do it, and those are the things that help you. And while Chaotic Bear is going off, I'm just going to mention that too at the Discord. That's one of the things that we enjoy doing. We have some newer players. We do allow proxy, as long as it's a color printing of a magic card that was.
And that's just for practicality. It's we're not trying to be mean and police things. It's just that we're playing webcam Magic, and as you can see from tonight, we've struggled to see a few things. So the color proxy, it's not. It might slow you down. It shouldn't stop you from playing, because even if you have to go to a print shop and print it, it's still doable.
It looks like he is getting into it.
Well, I mean, those new 7 cards that Marta got.
Okay, you force that one. I'll just cast another merchant.
But I've only got 21 mana. What am I?
Oh, but yeah, we do get a lot of new players. We really enjoy being able.
Yep.
Legacy is really the best form.
Well, absolutely. When you buy those new commander decks, you can just take the cards and stick them in Legacy. I don't think I've ever actually bought a commander deck just because of a Legacy playable card.
I have not, but that's where a lot of.
Yeah, I mean, I do have Flusterstorms that were from the commander printing and Containment Priests and whatnot.
Cutting Wish for Braid and Freeze. So that's it. Looks like Chaotic Bear is going to take this one down 2-0. What a night. You get to see High Tide do some awesome stuff.
And Merfolk, not a common deck. Nyx Fit, not a common deck.
Nyx Fit.
Still not a tier 1 deck.
Still not a deck, Doc. But
Bug, a deck. Nyx Fit, not.
But then Nyx Fit was really, really interesting. I really enjoyed that deck.
Yeah, those enchantments were just harsh.
Yeah.
Harsh. I'd have liked to have seen a Planeswalker win as well. Because he has the Arena Rector as well, and that's a newer card in the deck, a newer card in the Form X that's printed in Battle Bond.
Well, that is pretty much going to be it for us, guys. I really appreciate you hanging out with us tonight. We are the MTG Paper Legacy Discord. Again, my name is Beyond Sadistic. That is Ann Harrison. You can reach us on Twitter at MTG Paper Legacy. We are on YouTube at MTG Paper Legacy. There's a Discord link in chat. click on the Discord link. Come join us. Come play some Legacy. Got a little over 1,000 members. I think we're
Over
1,184.
1,100, almost
Yeah,
1,200, isn't it? That this kind of time, most nights, if you're in looking for a game, anything a bit earlier can be a little bit tricky. But I sometimes find some matches in the afternoon European time.
and
So yeah, there's plenty of opportunities to find games and looking for game. Plenty of opportunities to chat.
absolutely. And it's really hard. Some of us don't have legacy, local legacy communities. My local legacy community is pretty small, and I know a lot of them are fractured right now. Pandemic going on,
Yeah,
and
my legacy community is non-existent because literally, shops like magic shops could only start opening, um, last week I think,
right.
and then there was no ban on play, but the first one that I've heard that's going to do any play is this weekend, and they're doing 16 people in a space that usually takes 70 players. So they're being very cautious, and I think appropriately so.
It is. I mean, it's rough out there. This weekend is 4th of July. We normally have our Saturday challenge, but we will not have a Saturday challenge. We will not have a weekly challenge this week because of the weekend. A lot of us that run the events will. I hope you guys
I would be.
would be. It's almost
Not doing
3
it on my
a.m.
own though.
But I appreciate you guys hanging out with us. I hope you guys have a great 4th of July weekend. I hope you guys get to play some Legacy. Come stop by the Discord.